So, how bad is factory farming? Well, before I start, let me tell you that all of the sources are going to be cited in the description below. People cannot agree on factory farming. Some say that it keeps food affordable, feeds billions, and supports rural economies. Others say it tortures animals, wrecks ecosystems, and quietly harms human health. So, how bad is it really? This is not just meat lovers versus vegans. It is about how the whole system works and who pays the real cost. By the end, you'll see why people disagree and where you might land. Why people like factory farming. Factory farming is basically the industrial version of animal agriculture. Huge numbers of animals raised in concentrated facilities to produce meat, milk, and eggs as efficiently and cheaply as possible. You might notice this when every grocery store you walk into has piles of chicken, pork, and cheese at prices that feel weirdly low for something that used to be a live animal. One big reason people defend factory farming is scale. In the United States, about 99% of animals used for food live in factory farms, according to Sentience Institute, which means the entire supermarket meat section depends on this system. Globally, most farm animals are now raised in intensive systems rather than small traditional farms, according to Our World in Data, which makes factory farming a default setting rather than a fringe practice. Another reason is price and reliability. Global meat production has increased roughly five-fold since the 1960s and is projected to double again by 2050, according to figures summarized by the Human League. And that huge supply helps keep meat widely available. When a fast food chain can sell dollar menu burgers and a supermarket can run constant family pack deals, that affordability is powered by large scale, high efficiency animal operations. You can also see why many farmers feel locked into this model. A Food and Water Watch analysis of recent USDA data found about 1.7 billion animals living on US factory farms and roughly 24,000 such facilities, which means credit, equipment, and contracts are all built around industrial production. If you grew up in that system, it can feel less like a choice and more like the way to stay in business. The problems. Now flip the camera and look at the animals. Humane World for Animals estimates that around 94.9 billion farmed animals suffer in factory farms every year, often in extreme confinement where many never see sunlight or touch grass. The Humane League reports that many chickens raised for meat are killed at around 6 to 7 weeks and pigs at 5 to 6 months, even though their natural lifespans are many times longer, showing how the system treats them as short-term production units. Conditions inside these facilities are not just a bit crowded. The Center for Food Safety cites estimates that 99% of chickens, more than 90% of pigs, and about 78% of beef cows in the US are raised in animal factory operations, where animals can be packed so tightly they cannot turn around or lie down comfortably and may live among their own waste. To keep this going, producers rely on growth-promoting drugs like ractopamine and melangestrol acetate, which the Center for Food Safety notes are linked to problems like skeletal tremors, cardiovascular stress, and higher disease risk in cattle. The physical structures themselves can be harsh. The Humane League estimates that roughly 70% of breeding pigs spend much of their lives in gestation, crates
Situation log has
so
been
narrow they
updated.
cannot turn around, and then in similarly restrictive farrowing crates while nursing. Humane World for Animals describes hens packed into wire cages with less space than a sheet of paper, denied basic behaviors like dust bathing or perching, before being slaughtered a few years into a much longer potential lifespan. The environmental side is also heavy. Food and Water Watch calculates that U.S. factory farms produce around 940 billion pounds of manure each year, roughly twice the sewage produced by the entire U.S. human population, which creates huge risks for water and air pollution around rural communities. New Roots Institute points out that intensive animal agriculture contributes substantially to deforestation, water scarcity, and methane and nitrous oxide emissions, which are especially powerful greenhouse gases. On top of that, there is the health angle. World Animal Protection's Factory Farming Index estimates that factory farming of chickens, pigs, and cows causes about 1.8 years of healthy life lost per person globally, largely through antibiotic resistance, air pollution from farm emissions, and excess meat consumption. Their analysis notes that around 66,000 tons of antibiotics are used on these animals, twice the amount used for humans, which can help disease spread resistant bacteria that don't care whether you personally eat meat or not. So, given all of that, how do two people look at the same system and reach different conclusions? One big reason is priorities. If you care mostly about cheap food and feeding a large population, the fact that factory farms can produce immense quantities of meat and eggs at low prices feels like a huge win, especially when global meat output has multiplied many times over in recent decades, according to data summarized by the Humane League. If, instead, you care most about animal welfare, the picture looks completely different. Humane World for Animals describes factory farms as one of the largest drivers of animal suffering worldwide, with billions of animals in cages or crates so small they can barely move, and no chance to express natural behaviors. In that frame, industrial efficiency is not a neutral tool, it is a machine for turning sentient beings into units, and the cost savings look more like moral costs you cannot pay back. Values around law and responsibility also split opinions. The Humane League notes that there are no federal welfare laws in the U.S. that protect food animals while they are living inside factory farms, even though around 77% of Americans say they are concerned about the welfare of farmed animals. Some people look at that gap and say that we need stricter rules and enforcement. Others say that we already have safety and inspection laws, and adding more regulation could raise prices or push farms out of business. Experiences matter too. If your only contact with meat is clean, packaged products in a store, the system feels invisible, and factory farmings are just background infrastructure that must be necessary. If you live near a large animal operation, the smell, the water worries, or even health issues from air pollution can make the same system feel like a direct threat, especially when analyses like World Animal Protection's link farm emissions to pulmonary disease risks for nearby residents. So, where does that leave you on how bad is factory farming? First, decide what matters most to you: animal suffering, climate and health impacts, food prices and access, or farmer livelihoods. If you are okay with higher food costs and some diet changes, you might support cutting meat consumption, buying only higher welfare products, and backing policies that phase out intensive confinement, as suggested by Humane World for Animals and World Animal Protection. If you prioritize affordability, but still care about ethics, you might focus on strong welfare laws, strict limits on antibiotics, and helping farmers shift towards more sustainable models instead of just shutting them down. The red flags to watch for are simple. Systems that hide their conditions, rely heavily on routine drug use, or treat billions of animals as disposable widgets while shrugging off local pollution and health impacts. You do not need someone telling you what to think. You just need to understand how it works. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this video, and only if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe and share and hype. This is a bit of a sad video, so remember, if you ever feel down in the dumps, go talk to your friends or go talk to whatever support group you have. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.